As the world continues to mourn the loss of Friends star Matthew Perry, we're still waiting to learn more about the circumstances surrounding his death. Beloved for his years playing character Chandler Bing, a memorial has been set up outside the exterior of the New York City apartment where the cast lived on the show. That's at Bedford and Grove. Some of Perry's former cast members and others from the entertainment community have offered their condolences to the 54-year-old who for years battled substance abuse with alcohol and drugs.
My life has had so many highs and so many lows that I felt that it was time, and I felt that it really was time to help people. And my life has gone to such low degrees with addiction that the lower the scale I go, the more helpful I can be to other people who have gone so low. And I thought I had that story to tell.
That was almost exactly 1 year ago today, promoting his book, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. The one thing that we know for sure, as he chronicled in his memoir last year, was that it was his life's work to help others while he tried to get his own addictions under control. So with that in mind, we are happy to welcome Jana, a licensed alcohol and drug counselor with Mountainside. That's an alcohol and drug addiction treatment center here in the city, with other locations in the tri-state area as well. Thank you for being here, Jana.
Thank you so much for having me, Jamie. Stephanie.
Under such sad circumstances, of course, but for anyone who read his book, or honestly who just followed his career all these years, we know how bad he struggled with all of this.
Yes, and I think it is remarkable that his book was instantaneously a New York Times bestseller and an international bestseller. It obviously struck a very deep chord for many individuals and families that also have struggled or wanted to support him and see that even when people are looking well, that there might sometimes be things beneath the surface.
And to that point, as I said earlier, the Chandler Bing that we all feel like we know, the funny, witty character, is so different than Matthew Perry. And as you said, it's really hard to kind of separate what somebody appears to be and what that battle is going on inside.
I agree. And I think what's quite remarkable about him is his quote, in which he states that he wants to be remembered not, just for Friends first, but for his ability and his desire to help others. And that is, I think, one of the primary ways people get well, is by reaching out and acknowledging they're struggling, and also seeing their humanity and helping others. This is a very human disease. We think of addiction, it's a behavioral or a mental health or trauma-related disease and response.
So there's an interview making the rounds from about 20 years ago when Jennifer Aniston was talking to Diane Sawyer in tears, telling her that we just didn't feel like we were equipped for this, that none of them had dealt with this sort of thing before. And obviously not putting any of the blame on them, like they could have or should have done more. But looking ahead now, or looking outwards at our fellow New Yorkers, what can you tell people if you have a friend or a family member, someone you know, a coworker who might be struggling? What can they do?
I love this question because it might not seem like the most reflexive answer, but I truly believe the best thing you can do is first get help for yourself. If you have a family member or a friend that is struggling, seek out resources and support for yourself, some education for yourself. This disease takes a toll on the whole system, family and friends. One thing we offer that's been remarkable is a family support group every Wednesday. It's free at Mountainside Treatment Center. We actually offer it in person in our Chelsea location in the city. But this support group, we get people from all over the country coming every Wednesday night to join us virtually to share their experience, strength, and hope as someone that loves someone that struggles. And it is remarkable to see the need for that, and also to see the resilience and the strength within that group.
It does wear on the caregivers.
It does. Somebody very close to me is struggling with it. And it can be so frustrating at times because you just can't understand it. Like, you empathize and you are upset by it, but it can be frustrating because you're like, well, I just don't understand it. And I should say his book really did give me an inside look and so many people into the mind of that struggling person. How can that support system, those surrounding people, better understand addiction when they themselves aren't going through it?
It's a really great question. I think, again, getting the education getting the resilience and support, getting the support so that you can respond in a trauma-informed way without having to be a therapist. So to understand it isn't often personal. It's not something that someone can control. It's not something that someone is doing to them. And that often the person feels a lot of shame and stigma and regret themselves. And we do know that shame never gets anyone sober. That doesn't work. It doesn't get anyone well. And I think, again, this is such a human condition. You know, I don't think there's one among us that doesn't have someone that we're deeply connected to in our own life that hasn't struggled and that hasn't stood by and felt that sense of helplessness, like, I wish I could do more.
I love that line, shame has never gotten anyone sober. Jana Wu from Mountainside Alcohol and Drug Addiction Treatment Center here in the city, thank you for being with us this morning. And if you know someone or if you yourself are struggling with addiction or substance abuse, please call the helpline at the bottom of your screen. That's 1-800-662-4357.